Hi, everybody. Ed Bixby here from the Global Green Burial Alliance, and this is Spotlight Now. Today, I'm with Hugo Salazar. Hugo works for the Guerrero-Dean Funeral Home and Mountain Creek Cemetery in Grand Prairie, Texas. As a licensed funeral advisor, Hugo's areas of expertise include advanced planning, grave marker sales, and green burials. Hugo has been instrumental in establishing and expanding the green burial space at Mountain Creek Cemetery, a hybrid cemetery overlooking beautiful Mountain Creek Lake just outside of Dallas. So welcome, Hugo.
Thank you for having me, Mr. Ed.
You're very welcome. And hi, folks. Again, you never know where you're going to find me, so I apologize for coming from my truck, but we always get it done. However, we got to get these things taken care of. So this is great. We really love to have you here today, Hugo. And I think the best way to start it off is why don't you tell us a little bit about, what you do and how you got involved in the funeral industry?
Yes, thank you for that introduction. Again, my name is Hugo Salazar. I am located in Grand Prairie, Texas. I've been licensed for a little over 14 years now. I do the pre-arrangements. I also operate the cemetery. And like Mr. Ed said, I also do green burials, grave marker sales, pre-need plot sales, all of that here in the Grand Prairie, Texas.
And when did you get involved in the funeral industry, Hugo? Was it something you were born into, or something that you decided to enter?
Well, long story short, I had a sister that passed away in 2000. And what happened was that we were at a funeral home in cemetery, and we got treated very poorly by the funeral director, by the funeral home, by the cemetery. They were rushed. I was 16 years old, and I told myself that if God ever allowed me to be in this business, I will never treat a family the way my family was treated. And that's how I got involved. And I always wanted to be in this business, in this industry. So I started first in the financial planning, life insurance, retirement planning, annuities, all of that. But there had to be a way to get in. And what happened was I had to start knocking on doors, knocking on funeral homes. Can someone give me a chance? Can someone help me out? I have work ethic. I can, all I want is a chance, an opportunity. I went to different cemeteries. They all closed the doors. I went to funeral homes. They all closed the doors. But when you give up, when you never give up and you always start knocking on doors, there's always a light. And Guerrero-Dean Funeral Home brought me in their wings. They referred me over to Mountain Creek. Mountain Creek Cemetery had not started yet. They were looking for someone who helped grow it. Other agents came by. The owner, Steve Harris, did not really connect with them. They were looking for something different. I come along. He was very doubtful, very skeptical. Who are you? I said, look, I just want a chance. I know the secret sauce is in the cemetery to go into the funeral home. You don't have to pay me. I just want a chance to be able to grow my pre-need business. And he said, well, until you prove me wrong, then we can see if we can do any other things. And I said, just give me a chance. If you don't like me, fire me. We are 4 years later. We've done green burials, traditional burials, double dip, marketing, and the cemetery has been in business for 5 years and continuously growing for our families to do the right thing. Because going back to when I was 16, I have never treated a family the way I was treated. And that's what this industry is all about. Compassion, sympathy, understanding that they're grieving the loss of their loved one.
Absolutely, and that's admirable and commendable, Hugo, because what I have found is that the majority of the people who are actually in the natural burial movement are very much like yourself. People who had maybe a negative experience but wanted to make a difference, and it's clearly evident that you are, and that that Mountain Creek, their gamble paid off. So it's great that they did that, and I guess that would let I think I might already know the answer, but I'd rather hear it from you. So what piqued your interest in the green burial or eco-friendly funeral service? Was it an inspiration to increase access to your area, a community need, or was it that personal experience?
It was everything you just mentioned, but also another thing was I needed to bring to the cemetery flexibility, and options. Options, alternative to cremation. Cremation's still around. It's going to be around. Traditional burials. However, green burials are unique, special, and people are asking for it. It's not very popular here in Texas yet, but however, it's growing. There's more cemeteries coming along. There's more people asking about it. Texas is so big, we're very distant from each other. Cemeteries are very far away. We are centralized. Grand Prairie is, we can go east, west, south, north. We are only 10 minutes away from DFW National Cemetery. So that helps us a lot too. You can literally see downtown Dallas from our cemetery as well. You can see all of that, the lakes nearby. But what piqued my interest in green burials is very simple. As everyone knows, or most families don't know, there's no embalming involved. There's no concrete liner or vault involved. We don't dig very deep. We follow all the Global Green Burial Alliance requirements, or at least suggestions. There is a designated area that we have. We do allow families the flexibility that if they do purchase a grave marker, we allow them to plant either a tree or a rose bush to at least celebrate that loved one that we have here, because a lot of them, believe it or not, they wanted to go back to nature, and that's what they inquire. At the beginning, it might be a little odd to the people that attend, but the family is the only one that knows what's going on. All the other guests, and they're like, "What is this? Why is he in just?" They call it a blanket. In this case, it's a shroud. Why is he in a basket, or it's a biodegradable casket? Why is he in a in a wooden box? Well, that's a pine casket. You know? So it's a little, it's different for them. The family knows what's going on, but that's exactly what their loved one wanted and how they wanted to be celebrated.
And and you touched on several things here that are really important for the audience to know. And I really think it's great that Mountain Creek has embraced this concept. We have to be mindful of people's choices and respectful of them as well. And it's wonderful to know that you can have this option within a traditional cemetery space. And what's really great, and you touched on it just now, is the fact that the best advertisement a natural burial has is an actual funeral service. And that's an awful thing at times, because of course no one wants to be at someone's funeral. But when they experience it is when they truly understand what a natural burial is. And that educational aspect is what will draw them towards possibly a more environmentally friendly, spiritual type of option like natural burials. So that's wonderful, and that's very wise as business people. Mountain Creek, they're very smart to embrace this, because it is growing rapidly. And why don't we talk a little bit to the viewers about the green burial space at Mountain Creek? What that might look like, what the plans in the future are, or what is the ultimate vision, let's say, for the space itself?
Yes. So one good thing, I don't know if you know, Ed, Mountain Creek has acquired 7 more acres of land in that same area. There are a lot of plans going in there to where there might be in the future, in the near future, we may have a conservation area as well for our families. Again, going back to options, flexibility. We want to target every question or every concern our families have. So in terms of that, we may also have another designated area for green burial specific, because the area that we have is hybrid. It's traditional with green burials. It doesn't disturb anything. It doesn't, it's just because we are a hybrid cemetery. Now, as far as conservation, that will be when those people, I have families asking, just throw me in the woods, just throw me somewhere. I don't care. And believe it or not, we do have one person there, and she said, the cost to me does not matter. Just please honor what I want. And I said, okay. And we did that for her, completely happy. She did all her daughter's wishes. She just wanted to be in the woods and just put me there and leave me alone. And that's exactly what we did. And she was her first one. We were like, should we do this? This is right in the middle of the woods, and it worked out perfect. She loved it. Happy family. They're all there, and she then said, "Hey, I want to go ahead and purchase my plot next to my daughter. How much would that be?" Gave her that price, all of that. So going back to what you said earlier, it might be different for other people. However, when the family knows, they understand the concept, and then they want to do that themselves. Because of that, I've had a lot of people pre-planned while they're living. They've paid their plot, they've paid their pre-arrangements with me here at the funeral home, and they're all from all over the place: Plano, Allen, Frisco, Fort Worth, all of that, because we're the closest to them.
Absolutely. And Hugo, again, you keep touching on things that are really important here that people need to understand. Even our operators who are watching this, that funeral itself, as you mentioned, exposes these people to something new. And those are all potential new customers who will embrace the concept. It's kind of a rebirth for the funeral industry itself. Ironically, a lot of people chose cremation because of the cost and because they didn't want some of the offerings of a traditional burial. And when they realized they could have a natural burial, they said, wait a minute, that's what I've always wanted anyway, something simple. So really, what you're doing at Mountain Creek, you're bringing people back, back into the fold of a funeral service, opposed to, like, let's say, a direct cremation. So, it's really a wonderful thing. And with that being said, how has your project and the green burial aspect in general been received in the Dallas-Fort Worth area? Like, when you speak of this, how are people receiving it?
To some, it's weird. To some, it's the greatest thing in the world. To some, they did not know about it. However, like you just touched on, community involvement. Going out there and say, we offer green burials. What is a green burial? Explain to them what that is. Also, social media. We've had good responses. At the same time, we've had some rude responses because they've never seen this before, and some jokes I've made out of it because they've never seen this before. However, that's people in general. We're gonna face that everywhere, no matter what kind of business you're in. Uh, However, we try to market as much as we can as far as the concept of green burials, that it's allowed because of the affordability. Once you include everything with the funeral home and the cemetery, and that's it, that's all I have to do, that's all you have. It's becoming more popular with my younger generation now than my older generation. They're still the traditional way. They still old school, which is okay. We cater to all of them.
Right, absolutely, as you should. That's a wonderful thing. And people typically only fear what they don't understand. So
Correct.
as time goes on and people become more educated to the process, that's when they become more comfortable. So you're right. You'll always get people who will express themselves in ways because they don't understand exactly what they're looking at or what they're experiencing. So prior to Mountain Creek Cemetery, what was the availability of green burials, just out of curiosity, in Dallas County? Was there anyone doing it, or are you guys the first?
No, no, nobody was doing it. Funeral homes had no idea of the concept either. It was very challenging to get a funeral home on board, or at least to be open minded to the concept. I'll keep you in mind. I don't know if there's any money in there. I don't know if that's gonna work out. I've never heard of it. I don't know where to get it. What are you talking about? No one's gonna want to do that. All of that came into play to a funeral home. However, the funeral home director here at Guerrero-Dean Funeral Home understood the concept. It's not about the money. It's not about the effect, the cost effect. It's about providing that service to that person that's inquiring about it, and us being, as a cemetery, being open to that. Because yes, it's cost effective. Yeah, it's affordable. However, in this industry, there are some colleagues that are not in it because they're probably is not profitable for them. We're not in the profitable business for that. We want to make sure that the family gets what they want and they're happy, because at the end of the day, that heritage starts building, and we offer all kinds of other services as well for them.
Absolutely. And Guerrero-Dean and Mountain Creek, you know, you want to be available to your families for all options. You were absolutely correct in saying that. And it's never about the money. That is truly,
Correct.
the families come first, and you guys being the first in the Dallas Fort Worth area, that's really special because you guys had the foresight to understand this was something that was important to people. And Hugo, it's always better to be ahead of the curve than behind it. So people will follow in the future, but they may not see the same successes that Mountain Creek does because you guys were so instrumental in bringing that to the Dallas Fort Worth area. So that's a great thing. And that would bring me to this. I think the consumer would really be interested in this aspect, and in particular, anyone watching this from the Dallas Fort Worth area. Tell us a little bit about how your pre-planning services and green burials have intertwined, and if you've seen an increase in pre-arrangements with green burial related services, because there's certainly customers there that I'm sure after this video probably would like to speak to you about possibly pre-arranging.
Yes, that's correct. There has been a significant rise in pre-planning a green burial. The flexibility that we have with Mountain Creek is that I can when we do a funeral contract that's going to be pre-funded, prepaid, and pre-planned, we have the flexibility to adding cemetery expenses on that contract, so they can start making flexible monthly payments for themselves. So being in the funeral home, we can exactly, because a funeral contract is itemized. You're gonna get exactly what you asked for. Should you pass away, we're gonna pay that portion, the funeral home, and the other for the cemetery. That way, you can already know that you are going to Mountain Creek and your contract will be honored as a green burial. Yes, green burials have risen here on our end, not only on the aspect of at need today, also for the future, for pre-planning a pre-need green burial. And we have options from all kinds of biodegradable containers. We do allow our families. Some ask, well, can I provide my own? As long as it meets cemetery requirements and is biodegradable, yes, we won't put that in the contract. However, as a funeral home, we still have to render some services where we pick the person from the place of death, bring them in our care, making sure that all their paperwork is in order, filing state, all of that, and then we'll go to the cemetery and do its due diligence as far as the service they inquired about.
Absolutely. And it's important for the viewers here watching this to understand that, when you take the time and effort to prearrange with someone like Hugo, you then are insured to get what you want at today's prices and not future prices, and then take that burden off of your loved ones in the future as well. So you're really giving them a real gift when it comes to knowing that when someone passes, they can take their time and energy to grieve, and an organization like Hugo's and Mountain Creek and Guerrero-Dean can take care of these things already because it was pre-planned. So it's really, really, truly important to think of that. A lot of people don't want to think about death and things like that, and it's totally understandable. But when you have conversations like this, it opens your eyes to the fact that it makes a lot of sense to prearrange. So, I mean, I would imagine that, you're probably going to get some questions after this, Hugo, and I encourage anyone watching it to reach out to him and speak to him about this because it's really important. And as we wrap up our interview, we always in the end like to ask a fun question. And I would say, what is your hope for the future of green burial in the local community and Texas in general? Meaning, like, where would you like to see it, hopefully, let's say in 10 or 15 years, maybe?
Well, my hope for the future is that a lot of people understand the concept very thoroughly, and also I believe it's gonna be inquired more about it because of its simplicity. Watching this, and my fiance the other day when we did the forum, she said, "I want a green burial now," and we're of the younger generation. I was like, "Yeah, it sounds very simple." So I believe the younger generation, they're gonna want simplicity. Um, things are changing. A lot of people are going to more into the eco-friendly services, whether it's green burials or any other industries out there. So I believe that the future for Mountain Creek will increase in more inquirements about green burials. That's my belief, and hopefully they choose us, and we'll be here to serve them, just like all of other families that we've done in the past.
Absolutely. And folks, if you've never been to Texas, please go and visit. It's a great state with great people, and like Hugo had said, a giant state. Very changing. From Houston to say San Antonio. You're going to see a lot of different landscape. But the one thing about
Yes.
Texas people is Texas people, they know what they want, and when they know what they want, they take care of business and they get it. So I give them credit for that. I want to thank you, Hugo, for joining us today, and the audience can learn more by visiting www.guerrero-dean.com and www.mountaintcreekcemetery.org. Thanks for supporting the Global Green Burial Alliance, and thanks, Hugo. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Ed, and I really appreciate the opportunity. And again, thank you so much. And like you said, here in Texas, we go big.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Well, thanks, folks, and we'll see you at the next spotlight.